Hello everyone, my name is Ron Timmermans. I'm one of the many hosts for the Florida Aviation Network, and we're broadcasting live and in the clear today from the Sun and Fun campus at Lakeland, Florida. So it's been 49 years since this event started. This is the 49th annual International Aviation Expo at Sun and Fun at the campus at the Lakeland Linder International Airport. It's good to have you along with us. We've got a number of great people that we're interviewing this week. We've completed a number of interviews already this morning and earlier this afternoon, and another one to follow as we get into this one. My two guests today are Karen Noll and Bob Raskey. So they are both 777 pilots for United Airlines. Karen is a first officer and Bob is a captain, and they happen to be wife and husband. So Bob and Karen, welcome. It's good to have you here once again. It's always good to interview you and to learn more about your past and your wonderful activities and the like. So, Karen, how long have you been flying?
I've been flying for 25 years.
25, okay. And how many years with the United now?
Yeah, I've been with United 7 years now.
7 years,
yeah.
Okay.
Before that, I was a regional for 15 years.
15 years as regional, and now with the majors. Well, that's great. Bob, a few more years than that for you with aviation?
From the day I touched an airplane,
Yeah.
about 45 years.
45, so good. Well, Bob, I've got a couple of years on you, so I made the big 5-0 just.
You did, excellent.
Yeah, last year. I haven't got my Wright Brothers Award yet, but I'm going to put in for it. And
Congrats.
Bob Jex says he thinks he can squeak me through and get the award. That'd be good. So, well, that's good. So, Bob, for you, how many years with United, and before that,
United, just over 30.
30?
And pretty much United the whole time. And prior to that, I was military for about 20. Kind of a mix between full-time and then guard, and then also with United. So I retired as a colonel, lieutenant colonel in the Air Force after 20 years, and United I'm still going. Got about another year and a half or so.
Good for you. Well, that's great. It's been quite a ride, I imagine.
It's amazingly wonderful and still happy.
Yeah. And Karen, for you too, a good ride, I imagine, huh?
It's fantastic. It's the best job in the world.
Is it really?
It is.
Good. I'm glad to be that. Up in the front office of the 777, huh? So I imagine you started out, Karen, as a private pilot and then progressed to CFI and going through the ratings before you finally got on the regionals and then eventually with United. So tell us about the early years of Karen.
Well, I actually, after I graduated from college, I got a job as a flight attendant. I was supposed to go to law school, but then I really wanted to see the world, and this was just a little escape for a little time, and I was going to come back. And then my very first day on the job was in a 747 from Hawaii to Tokyo, and I went up front, and I saw what they were doing and who they're talking to, the chatter and everything else, and I'm like, that's it, this is what I want to do. So I got my private out in Honolulu, and then I came here to Florida and got all my other ratings, and it was basically a means to an end. I just wanted to be an airline pilot for sure, and then go figure, I fell in love with it. I love it.
So let me make sure I got this framed here. So your first day on the job as a flight attendant, you already decided to switch careers.
Yeah.
And move from the back of the airplane up to the front of the airplane.
Yeah.
Wow, what a lofty goal, but one that you've achieved, obviously. So you got your private pilot's license, flying out of Honolulu or one of the smaller airports?
Yeah.
Out of the International?
Yeah.
Good. Flying Cessnas, I imagine?
It's a Cessna 150, and the crazy thing in Hawaii is that your long cross countries are inner islands, so you're going over water, single engine, the Cessna 150, and the weather gets funny and it's tricky, and it's not for the, I guess
faint of heart.
It's not for the faint of heart,
Indeed.
but it was so beautiful, and every single time I looked out the window, it was just so glorious to fly there. And you can rent planes out in Hawaii at Honolulu International and go inner island. They'll just check you out and show you the way.
How exciting. So then you progressed on, obviously, to commercial and instrument and CFI, was it?
Yeah, I went to an academy over in Sanford. I got my instrument commercial multi, CFI IIMEI. Taught at Orlando Executive Airport, got my hours.
My home drome.
Yeah, and then I taught at Western for a short time, and then I became a pilot for Continental Express and then ExpressJet. And that was my regional stint, and I stayed at the regionals for a long time because I'm just as ambitious as the next person, but I had kids, and I'd make locker signs and cupcakes and show up for things and stuff, and I was super senior, and I had all the time off to do that, and then they grew up, and then I got to do what I really want, which is fly overseas on really big planes.
I see. Well, that's great. What a great career path for you. That's wonderful. And you were able to blend being a mom as well as your aviation career.
Yeah, about 50% of the female airline pilots I know are moms, and 50% aren't. Just choose. But you make the juggle. You're gone a couple nights a week or so. Some people get jobs where they just go away and come back every single day. But my kids were never alone and didn't have to go to daycare because we're both airline, and we juggled it, and they turned out okay. They went to college. They were Eagle Scouts, and
good.
Yeah.
And soon to graduate from college, you told me.
This April.
Good. One in engineering, another in general studies.
Exactly.
Great. How proud you are as a mom.
I am.
I can
I'm happy.
imagine. Well, good.
Off the payroll, like you said.
Off the payroll, yeah, right. That's a good thing. And Bob, so your career started out, what, in the Guard, do I remember?
Yeah, early on, there was that critical point in most young men and women's lives. High school, senior, not for me, so I left early.
Yeah.
And I was 18 years old and in discovery pattern there. I was doing well, but a relatively smart guy, but I got bored with high school, typical story that people say. So I left, and I was scouting around doing different endeavors, which were good, got me sidetracked. And then one day, I was in that mode of not completing any kind of school, where I was enlightened by my mom about a Guard job, National Guard job, newspaper clipping, which said, join the Army National Guard. So I go, what's this? So I did, but that moment in time became the transition, because I went into the Guard up in Long Island, New York, Guard helicopter unit. First job they gave me was I want to be a helicopter mechanic. And I was into cars at that time, so I said, great. And while I was at Fort Rucker, I was surrounded by helicopters, which eventually I became a helicopter pilot. But at that stage, I was interested in flying, and an Army warrant officer is that pay it forward concept, he became a future Delta pilot, but he came up to me one day as I was wrenching on a helicopter and said, Bob, you're doing great work here. Have you thought about being a pilot? That's a great phrase to say. I said, no, typical.
You were what, in your early 20s then? Or?
I was about 19.
19,
Yeah.
okay, still in your late teens.
Very early, and I hadn't even graduated. We just wanted to get a GED from high school, but so I said, yeah, let me check it out. And he took me over to the local flying club there. Took me in that first ride in 152, and I was hooked. So now I had like 6 weeks left of mechanical training. He says, why don't you just start, let's make this happen. So it became the goal to get my private pilot license in 45 days. So at night, I did almost my private pilot license, cross country, everything at night.
At night?
Yeah, and weekends, because during the day I was in school learning how to do it. I'd sneak away, and he had my back, and I finished it. And just as I was getting my, helicopter mechanic license, I got the private pilot license. And then, of course, that set the whole, like in life, we have journeys, right? And we go, will this work? Maybe I want to be this. How about that? And I had no clue what the heck I wanted to be.
Unlike Karen, who focused early on this.
She looked and said, I want to be a pilot. I was like, hey. But that started the journey, and then it was throttle's end, right? I came down to Embry-Riddle, went to school there, graduated, and then went into the Air Force full time. And that whole discovery of Air Force time as an F-16 guy, Guard Reserve, and eventually United was all triggered by that critical moment, like she had, where have you ever thought about being a pilot? And for that matter, anything in life, or like a mechanic. But I went down that path. And that was always a critical moment. That's how I pay it forward. Because in my life, when I asked my kids growing up, Savannah and Christopher, hey, would you like to be a pilot? You know what they said? Hell no. Hell no. But eventually they got their private pilot license. And I was never a pusher. Okay, let's try it. And they enjoyed it. My son deviated into a medical school program. But Savannah, she just hung in there, and she graduated, and finally she was all in. One day when she joined the Guard too at 18, and when she was surrounded by the KC-135 pilots coming off, she was the maintenance officer. And I think she got tired of writing the maintenance reports and said, I want to do that. And that change again was that fundamental change. We said, I want to be a pilot. And as you know the story, she's today doing survival training in Alaska, but soon going to she finished all her pilot training in the Air Force and going to the F-35 program for a year in Arizona.
The F-35 program?
Yeah, she was selected by Montgomery, Alabama's unit to be the next generation F-35 pilot, her and 2 other people.
So this is the young lady who, like her brother, said, hell no, I don't want to be a pilot.
They said, hell no, like that. So, I always can relate to the word no.
Yeah.
Because I said it. And, when we try to mentor our next generation, parents are always trying to be good. Hey, why don't you be this? You want to be that? And I was undecisive. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Heck, I dropped out,
Yeah.
But, you know, the whole relentless part's there. Like, you know, you stay in the game and mentoring as a dad, as a friend, a counselor. You try to be resilient, keep pushing, and then one day these switches happen, you know. And I think in today's world, job opportunity is very strange for everybody graduating now, because we're migrating to a bit of a different world, you know, with AI down the peak, you know, automation. So you have to be careful what you're looking for in jobs out there. Like, I want to go to college to be this, and it may be a robot down the road. Who knows, right? But the good thing that we're here today for is aviation. It's rocking, right? I mean,
it is.
If anybody walks around these hangars here, they're hiring like crazy. Come on in, Aviate program, this program, we're the Aviate program United. Well, that's a whole change. So it's good to see how many mindsets in our next generation, I call them, fighters and children and people, they have this opportunity that's amazing,
Yes.
rewarding, and it's not just being a pilot, I think, all aviation, but it's a magical moment, I think.
Yeah,
A window.
I can see that. I can see that. So, Karen, when do you mentor other would-be pilots, women and men, or?
Yes. I was in the International Society of Women Airline Pilots, and I was their scholarship chair for 8 years. Gave out hundreds of thousands of dollars in scholarships to women who want to specifically become airline pilots. We're just giving them their CFI, II, or MEI rating just to get them out of their parents' basement so they can make money as a pilot. And then we give type ratings out as well. And not that it's necessary to have a type rating to become an airline pilot, but we found that, like, if you've been in the regional airlines, for instance, for a while, maybe you're raising children, and you haven't had a big check ride because you've been a captain for 13 years. Well, apparently the way the airlines matrix works when they're pulling out applications is a major check ride recently. And if you've been a captain for 13 years, there's none. So we give them a check ride in a big plane, and within a week they get calls from all the majors. So
So this would be like a sim check ride?
yeah. Just like a 737 type rating.
Great. So this is primarily for women who are already in aviation at the regionals level.
Or earlier. We give them CFI, IIs,
Oh,
and
you did
MEIs
say
as
that,
well.
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We're trying to get them that last final push when they're starting
Yeah.
to run out of money. We're like, here you go, we
That
got
last
you.
step.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
And-
And where do you raise the money from? Just from donors and?
Yeah, we're all airline pilots, and we just take money out of our back pocket
Yeah.
and throw it on the table.
Good. How wonderful to pay it forward, as Bob said in other instances. This is the way you're paying it forward to help young women to move on to that final step to get into the airlines.
I want them to find the joy I have found.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how happy I am and how much I love my life and my job.
That's great. That's great. That's what we all want to do, is just be joyful about what we do, whether it's aviation or whatever our career might be. But that's the satisfaction we get from finding the right vocation and going for the gold, I guess. So, Bob, you've had a number of opportunities to help mentor people into aviation, not just your children that you talked about, but other young people as well. I remember you're involved in Young Eagles and other events, and you've talked with other people, motivational speaking about go for your goals and goals in aviation. Tell us a little bit about what you've done there.
Well, you know, the big thing is, I think, interaction with the community. Like in my lane, you know, of course, I'm a GA guy, CFI, and all of that. So in that world, the GA communities, I'm trying to enlighten them with the Young Eagles program. Mike McKenzie, who runs Vision of Flight program. A lot of these programs are out there, and they're similar to the Young Eagles model, where a group of high school folks come in there. They learn about flying, they get flights, and I donate my airplanes. I have an Aztec and Cherokee 6 and pilots, and we have a good time. Usually like once every couple months we get together in the certain chapters. And that is a GA, a community reaching at the high school level, right? Mm-hmm. So that's important because other programs that exist at high school level are the Civil Air Patrol, right? And so Civil Patrol is a great thing because they have planes and people can learn how to fly. So people in high school join the Civil Air Patrol, if they want to be a pilot, can start flying. This is all about saving money too, right? And so I give them talks at Civil Air Patrol things and kind of motivate people to take advantage of these assets, right? Because these assets are out there, Young Eagle, Civil Air Patrol. And then for people like that are interested maybe in the military, like fly in Florida, like Florida, we have wonderful National Guard, F-16s up there in Jacksonville, Homestead. And Jackson was going to F-22s. You know, this is part-time work, too. And so we got C-130 units. So Florida's got these National Guard reserve systems. So in different states, when I grab people, like say, hey, man, this is a great opportunity. And have you not just want to become a pilot, but have you thought about being in the National Guard and maybe flying F-22s, 35s, KC, whatever, heavies, part-time, whereas maybe you want to be a doctor also. I mean, it's amazing what you can do with that. You could be piloting or still flying the world in aviation and being some other source. So in that community, I do out of grabbing folks at that critical high school graduation point and try to steer them. I've had, past couple years, at least 20 to 30 men and women join Guard Reserve units, and they're all with us today, United, Delta. They went, joined the Guard, became National Guard pilots, got hired at the airlines.
And a path somewhat like you followed after you dropped out of high school and really turned yourself around. And the opportunities are great, not just for men, but for women as well, right, Karen? I mean, you're an example. Your daughter Savannah is another one, and other women throughout the industry.
I think that a lot of women maybe didn't realize that this is such a great job for women as well. We saw only men for a long time being pilots, but I was at all my kids' events. I had a wonderful time. I think that I work in a program called Aviate at United Airlines, and what we're trying to do is reach out to all kinds of people, and includes women and minorities, and people, just to demystify that anybody can do this, and here is the pathways you can do it, and here's where you can get loans to do it or scholarships, and we try just to show them the way, and then it's up to them, to persevere or not, and that's all the difference is between us being in a pilot position or not is perseverance, right?
Yeah, great. So you show them not only the goal but the means to get there.
Yeah, here you go.
That's great. Great package that you do for mentoring. That's it's a wonderful aspect. I want to change the tempo just for a moment now and talk about aviation safety. So you have a unique perspective, sitting in the front seat of a 777, in and out of major airports. You fly mostly where your home base at Newark or Kennedy? Newark. Okay, so busy airport, as is Kennedy and LaGuardia in New York City and all the other places that you fly to. But we've heard in the recent past some pretty significant almost accidents at the airports. Aircraft cleared for takeoff when another aircraft taxis across the runway. One aircraft happened to make a go-round because there was another airplane on the runway and the like. Tell us from your perspective. Obviously, pilots have to have their eyes out the cockpit and be aware of what's going on, or at least one of the two-person crew. But what other safety measures do we have on the ground, in the tower, buried in the taxiway and the runway lighting and the like? What kind of things keep an aircraft safe so that we don't get into two airplanes in the runway at the same time? Karen, your perspective?
There are so many safeguards, so many things that go through. Like, as a captain, I was a captain for a long time. I would never cross the runway unless, I hear the first officer talk and we got a clearance and I actually heard them say it. Otherwise, it's say again. I mean, we both have to hear the same words because, it's not just a violation. It could be quite dangerous.
Indeed.
And so, it's cautiousness. I think that a lot of the airlines are really good at, verifying information before you cross or do anything like that. But there's a lot of movement in the industry, and so there's a lot of new people getting used to new ways of doing things in different airlines and stuff, and maybe they're young captains, and I don't even know what happened I don't know the details. But, there is a lot of movement, and perhaps that needs getting used to, but I think that the airlines are taking note of what's going on, and it's coming back to us.
Yeah, and the FAA had a safety stand down a couple weeks ago to address this and major issues like that. And yet, Bob, we're all human and we make mistakes, don't we, Bob? So what kind of mistakes do we try and guard against in the cockpit when you're piloting a 777 on the runways or on the taxiways? What kind of things do you do?
Well, the biggest thing, and we're trained heavily under like our SMS systems, safety management systems, is this concept of CRM, crew resource management, and TEM, threat error management. So it begins with the briefing. If I'm with you and this is the crew, I sit there and I take out a little card, and it's very methodical, and say, how are you feeling today? How are you doing today? First step, why do you think we ask that? To see where your mental mindset is.
Yeah.
If you say, hey, I'm having a tough time, going through divorce, something like that, and I say, do you feel okay to fly? And you can say yes or no, right? But by opening that up, then the crew can accommodate right off the bat who you are as a person. So it's not like there's regs and movements and procedures, but there's also the human part. And the human part is so important in any crew cockpit to make sure everybody's heard, what they're going on. We have different personalities. And do you have any issues? Once that's out in the air, it's cool. Everybody wraps around each other, right? You know, we got your back, no worry. Then we go to the next step, you know, and the next step begins more of the briefing of the flight, the profile. But another big thing I do as a captain, when I talk about the profiles and procedures in this particular departure, is the kind of one thing I end with is like, trust me. You know, I look at everybody and says, if I'm not doing something right, or you have a better technique to offer me, please speak up. Good. You know, I have no skin in the game.
You're open to other
like
ideas.
Because you know, because sometimes people are afraid to say something, and sometimes pilots, through maybe a heavy mannerism, everybody shuts down, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk to him, he doesn't listen, you know. And we've gotten rid of most of that today because we're such talkers and humanistic. But that's a big step to say, because Ron, if you tell me, Bob, you know, maybe you can take the control wheel lock off. You know, oh shit.
So it's a communal effort. Safety.
Communal effort's important, and establishing that communications, I think, is one of the key elements to SMS, and one of the major factors, anything going wrong, whether it's in ATC world, this world, that world, different environments, different things, but the ability to understand yourself in the mirror,
yes, indeed,
and acknowledge your strengths and weaknesses of the day.
Okay, well, good. Well, thank you for your comments, Bob and Karen. I would be remiss if I didn't mention at least two other things. One is last August, these two had a fairy tale wedding in Scotland. And so they are married. They are now husband and wife. And so we're very happy for you. Congratulations. After many years, we're delighted for you.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Scotland.
Scotland again. Good. And then one other thing, we're celebrating something else this week. Karen, what is it about Bob that we're celebrating? Let's see.
CFI of the nation.
Yeah, the world.
The world, if he could.
Bob has been selected as a CFI of the year for the Orlando FSDO, and then the regional CFI of the year, and then finally he was selected as the national CFI of the year. Our heartiest congratulations, Bob. It's well deserved, and we're celebrating with you, and we will be. Many of us will be there at Oshkosh when you receive your award from the administrator this year. Congratulations to you, Bob, and Karen. Congratulations to you on wedding and your successful career. It's been great to be with both of you again. Thanks so much for being with me on the interview today. My name is Ron Timmermans. I'm with the Florida Aviation Network. It's been great to have you with us today. Please tune in again tomorrow, and you'll hear more interesting interviews with aviation personalities in and around the 49th Annual Sun and Fun. Until then, we wish you well and safe travels.